Hello, Thunder Wizards. So, I am back home from my trip to Australia, the 2 weeks that I spent. Very interesting and enlightening trip. Um, I just got back earlier today. I took about a 4-hour nap. My body has no idea what time it is. um, but I just got finished taking a walk on the beach here. And this is a beautiful place to live as well, where in the middle of November, I still get to go down to the beach and walk around in just surf trunks and nothing else. There's not a lot of places you can do that other than the tropics. It's really wonderful. So there's a lot of wonderful things here. And of course, as you can imagine, I'm comparing the two because, as you know, I went down there because I was going on an excursion to see if that was someplace I wanted to move to. And I had all kinds of other things happening as well. And so I want to talk to you, about some ideas I have about spiritual and emotional and psychological maturity. Because I was, as I always do, sharing with you guys exactly what's going on with me. If you go back a year, you'll see me blubbering and crying, at the loss of my partner. One of the main things that I'm doing here is I want to allow other people to see what it is just to be human. I think one of the biggest problems, I might even say the biggest problem in Western society, is our denial of our so-called negative feelings. There were some interesting responses to the videos. Some of them were just brand new people. I don't know how it is that the first video on my channel that they see is just some vlog about my trip to Australia. But some people were responding with some interesting comments, like somehow pointing out to me that I was somehow, off base because I was lonely or sad or confused or stressed. And as if these were things I was somehow trying to hide, I think what's really going on is you're just sad, you're just lonely. And then people trying to talk me into doing things like coming to where they are. Well, you're sad and lonely. Why don't you move to the East Coast? That just struck me as weird. Now, of course, those are the minority, and as I do sometimes, I do focus on the negative comments instead of the positive ones. There was a lot of positive comments, but listen, of course I was lonely. Of course I was confused. Of course I was stressed. Of course I was sad. Why is this a mystery to you? The idea that spirituality means that you're constantly in a good place all the time, that you're constantly, feeling and acting like Tony Robbins. I give Tony Robbins a hard time. He actually teaches some pretty good stuff. But for the most part, it's still on that surface level of just be happy. Turn that frown upside down. Don't be so negative. This is called denial. And as you know, what I teach is transformation. And I teach about going after what it is that you really want. That means, and I can't stress this enough, it's almost impossible to go through a life transformation. It's almost impossible to level up, to evolve, without facing pain, without facing a personal death. So please, if you're coming onto my channel thinking that you're miserable and your life is horrible and you want me to give you the magic pill to help you escape the matrix or to make everything happen and then somehow all of your pain is going to go away, please let me set the record straight. The more pain that you are experiencing, the more life dysfunction that you have, the more traumatic it is going to be for you to level up. That's just the way it is. And what you were seeing with me was you were seeing me putting myself into, I mean, think about it. I went by myself all the way across the other side of the world. I didn't know anybody. I'd never been to this place before. I'd only seen videos and pictures and somebody else's recommendation. And I took a leap. I jumped off the cliff. And yes, I've lost my fiance a year ago. I talk about this all the time. I talk about that. I struggle. Here at 55 years of age, it's difficult, especially in Los Angeles. It's difficult, because this can be a cold city. It's difficult for me to find people, the kind of people I want to hang out with, and, the women I want to date. I'm older than most of the women that I'm attracted to. So yes, for me to have done that in those conditions and thinking about completely, totally walking away from everything I've ever known and going to a foreign country and just jumping off into that, for me not to have confusion and fear and loneliness and sadness and stress, for me not to have those feelings would be a sign of some serious mental and emotional dysfunction. So I found those comments interesting, that somehow people needed to point out to me that, well, you just seem lonely, you seem sad, you seem confused. Was I trying to hide that? Are you revealing some mystery to me that I wasn't aware of? I was embracing that. And I was sharing it with you. And I will always do that, because this is, look, I could sit here and philosophize all day, and we could stay in our heads about how whatever it is, and, love and light, and here, do this meditation and everything. We could do that. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to put yourself into a state of denial, and then reality is going to hit. And changing to the better, not the worse, but changing for the better, depending on the level of dysfunction and pain that you have had in your life. The more pain and dysfunction you've had in your life, the graph goes up. The greater the pain, the greater all of those feelings are going to be. And besides just teaching you things to do, I'm also trying to be an example of this is a spiritual life. There are places in the world still today that when somebody dies, they will mourn for 40 days. People will weep and wail and smash on the walls. This is part of the culture. It's ingrained in it. You're expected to fall apart and to be miserable. And, there's the idea that when life change happens, we're supposed to just, everything is beautiful and wonderful. That is called denial. And that is the exact opposite of spirituality. Being aware, being awake, being conscious. Quite often people will email me as they do, or they'll comment and they'll say, I became awake this year. And then I listen and I read, and I don't hear that they're awake. I hear that they're in denial. That for them, being awake means that they've awoken from the dream, and and there's this false spirituality. And oftentimes you got people who are taking some kind of hallucinogen or something, and that to them is being awakened. It's not. It's being separated from your feelings. I'm here to say to you that your emotions are the gateway to your consciousness. What we want is the ability to have all of our feelings without judgment, and to expect that when you go through life transformation, you will go through deaths, which means everything that I've said: sadness, loneliness, fear, stress, anger, depression. All of these things are going to happen. That is not something that we can decide to turn off, unless, of course, you're going to medicate yourself with drugs or porn or video games or MMA or whatever the hell it is that you use as a drug. Unless you do that, then you can separate yourself from your feelings, but you will not transform. You know, death is real. Odin died to himself. Screaming, he took up the runes as he hung on the tree of life. Do you think that that was him just in bliss and deciding, I'm going to transform and I've just realized I'm going to get rid of all those? No, it must have been horrific. No one gave him, nobody gave him a drinking horn or anything. I mean, meaning he was alone and he felt that. Dying to yourself is going to be a state of solitude and fear and pain. So please, if you're looking to escape, I try so hard to hit this. You can't escape your pain. But what we want is to have the ability to take action consciously. That means when you're in all of that, all of those feelings, you aren't a slave to your reactions. That you have the consciousness to have all of your feelings and still take proactive, constructive action towards your greatest joy. I believe I'm doing that. Does that mean it's going to be easy? Hell no. I just, as I said, I just got back from Australia this morning, and I just took a nice 4-hour nap. And I woke up, and it's just a little bit after I woke up, boom, the sadness kicked in. Bodily sadness. I'm like, what am I sad about? I'm sad on all kinds of different levels. One is I was sad to leave there. I was consciously aware as I was packing the day before. I was like, I don't want to leave. And at the same time, I was afraid of being there. I was really confronted with my aloneness. And so I had these mixed feelings. On the one hand, I didn't want to feel so alone and so isolated. And I missed my computer. I didn't have my, I like to work. That's one of the things that helps me process, some of my negative feelings is to work. But, that can be a drug too. So I chose not to bring my work with me. And I was hoping that I was going to be so tired from surfing all the time that I wouldn't, but that's not what I had in store for myself. I had a lot of time to myself without anything except that amazing ocean and the trees and the birds and I had all that. So on the one hand, that was probably in terms of what I was looking for, because one of the things I'm consciously looking for is where is the next place I'm going to live that's going to give me my highest satisfaction. And I threw out a bunch of money and jumped on a plane almost, overnight and went to some place I'd never been, not knowing what the hell I was going to find, to see if that was some place I wanted to live. And the end result is I come back and, of course I'm comparing things as I just got back from walking the beach here in front of my house. I can't help but compare. And the comparison comes back that on every single one of my checklist, that was Australia. That particular town was perfect for me. It had everything that I would want here. That I chose this place very specifically because I had a list of things that I wanted. It has all of those things, and each one of those things, it's better. And then there's a bunch of other things that it has that I don't have here. So it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't know, there's really no reason for me not to other than fear. And if I go through this transformation, I still have to do some research on, visas and how long I can stay and, what I can do to whatever. You know, this is just the beginning of the negative feelings. This is just the beginning of the fear, of the sadness. I'm going to be walking away from my entire life, my 55 years of life. It's all gone. And to be conscious of that, my family, my parents are dead. My family, pretty much doesn't exist for me. My friends are all moved away, or they've got kids. I still live like I'm 30 years old or 20 years old, because I don't have kids and I don't work a 9 to 5. So I'm disconnected from even my own friends and my peers. To pick up and go and change my life, I'm going to have to face all that. I'm going to have to be looking at that whole, my whole life. I'm walking away from my whole identity. And for me not to have any of those negative feelings, that would be the sign of something really wrong with me. So, for those of you who were watching those videos and you felt the need to point out to me the obvious, that I looked sad and alone and confused and stressed, for you to point that out to me as though that's a negative that I should be aware of. Like somebody said, I'm just letting you know, don't get mad. Why would I get mad at that? What is strange is that is something that you felt you needed to point out to me, as though that I was somehow not in my highest awareness, that I was having these feelings. Any normal human being in my situation, if they're not feeling that, there's something wrong. And if you're looking to have a life where you don't have those kinds of transformations, then I'm here to tell you that is a sign of a lack of awareness. That is a sign of spiritual and emotional and psychological immaturity. If you're seeking spirituality as an escape from your pain, you are misinformed, number one. It's understandable. We all want to feel better. But this is what little kids do. This is not what adults do. And this is a lot of what I do with my clients, with my apprentices. There's going to be a lot of talking about your feelings and your emotions and how to transition them. All of the work that we do, the meditation, the energy work, the ritual work, all of that is designed to empower you, to give you tools so that when the inevitable crises come as you evolve, you have a strength and a power greater than your understanding of yourself, which will allow you to continue to take conscious, constructive action towards your greatest joy in spite of all of the negative feelings that you're going to have. So, and I know this is part of the reason. Listen, people seek me out because they want to change. They want something better. A lot of people are in a lot of pain. And so they want me to give them a magic pill. There isn't one. This is earthly life. The more that you avoid it, the more painful it'll become. The way out of your pain is through it. And so, from my perspective, I see myself, to the best of my knowledge, I am fearlessly abandoning myself to what, I can't deny is going on in my life. I am alone. I am lonely at times. I am stressed out about these things. I'm stressed out about being 55 years old. I'm scared of death. I'm scared of my mortality. That's why I spend so much time going to the gym and lifting weights while I still can. Because it's just a matter of time. Death will come for me. Old age will come for me. And that's frightening. For me not to have that is a sign of insanity. And if you're in a position, if you can look at your life and Acknowledge that your life is not very good. If maybe you're trapped in poverty, you're trapped in physical illness, you're trapped in physical addiction. Those are signs that you have been avoiding these negative feelings. That is not spirituality. Now, as you see, I am from, maybe I'm wrong, but from my perspective, physically and emotionally, I'm doing pretty damn good for my age. It doesn't mean that I have no stress. It doesn't mean that I have no negative experiences in life. And it certainly isn't that I walk around saying to myself all the time, I'm happy and there are no problems. The sign of health is allowing energy to move. Shamanism is about a dynamic balance, a flowing of continuous energy. When we work with the 8 directions, energy's coming at you all the time. So this is an intense experience. It should be an intense experience. To try and avoid that intensity is a sign of insanity. It's a sign of emotional dysfunction. It's a sign of immaturity. It's time to grow up. And, maturity will come seeking you, whether you like it or not. The more that you try and avoid it, the more painful it will become. So I hope, of course, unconsciousness means you're not aware of it. So whatever unconscious things are going on, I'm not aware of it. But from what I can tell, I am consciously choosing to dive into the unknown and to go through that. And I am embracing all of those negative emotions. And the end result is you do end up with joy, you do end up with health, you do end up with happiness. Denial and running away and pretending everything is okay. And I could go on and on and on and on. So I just kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about that. So I'm back, and I'm looking forward to getting back to work. I've got a lot of things I got to get caught up on. I got a lot of clients I got to get caught up on. And I'm going to begin the process of, the first thing I got to do is find out what I can do in terms of visas and all of that. And then I'm going to begin the process of dismantling this life here. I'm going to get rid of all of my possessions. I'm going to sell all except for maybe 1 or 2 surfboards. Maybe I'll just narrow it down to 1. And I'm planning on just having all of my possessions be something I can put into, a suitcase. And then I plan on, I got to get rid of my lease on my car. I got to get out of the lease here and where I'm at. If you don't think that's going to be scary as hell, and if you're expecting me not to be sharing with you, and if you're expecting to not see me be lonely and sad and confused and stressed out, please let me release you of that illusion. Expect it. Celebrate it with me. And then, hopefully, by watching me go through it, you will have the strength to go through it yourself. Because you'll see, if Thunder Wizard can do it and he went through all that and look at what he's got out of it, I can change my life. I can take positive action. I can take positive action regardless of my frightening feelings. Okay? All right, so I was going to do a live Q&A, but I'm still jet lagged. Anyway, that's it for me now. We'll get back to, maybe we won't get back to it. We'll see how things change, but my plan is to get back to, what I was doing before, and we'll see where it goes. All right, talk to you guys later.